Good evening, Noswaith there, and welcome back to the Cheltenham Exchange for our Christmas special with two very, very, very special guests this evening. Ian Rayner, Alex Galvin. As you can see, we've got Mr. Dave Young, Cheltmental, the superstar, and Ginger Joe, the ginger that everybody aspires to be. Two very knowledgeable chaps that everyone will already be well aware of. So, guys, thanks for coming on. You've both been incredibly supportive of us in the past anyway, but yeah, we're honoured to have you on. You again, Dave, and you for the first time, Joe. So, yes, cheers, good. Chaps. Pleasure to have you. And from our team, we've got Alex, who's been off whoring himself around other shows. But we're letting him back in tonight. We're letting him back in. The old man's still here, John the Hammer. You know, for work due tonight. He's not drinking because he's got an early start. But
again,
and Ian looking slightly more like Casper the Ghost again tonight. Lovely hat, Ian.
As we light. And bar humbug.
Looking good. Speaking of bar humbug, we've got no Matty.
Wanking on the train again.
He's
wanking what he's doing.
And he's not on strike either. I think he's just sulking because of all the people who are giving him grief about Manila Indo being too old. That's what I reckon it is. So yeah, Matty, pack it in. So yeah, Christmas special. First things first, happy Christmas, everybody. This will be our last recording of the year, I take it.
Yeah.
Anyway. So happy Christmas, everyone. Hope you have a great Christmas day and enjoy the racing. Some great racing forecast, and the weather's got warmer, so hopefully it won't be like the disaster last week. So we've picked a selection of festive races to look through. I think we've got 3 or 4 in the UK and 4 in Ireland. I think they're pretty much, we're going to go through them in what's that word? Chronological, is it?
Yeah, that's the one.
Actually happening. Chronological. Not like, it's not like watching Cheltmental, is it? So, getting straight into Boxing Day, and we're going to start off with the rescheduled Long Walk Hurdle, which of course was moved from Ascot. 6 runners at the moment. When are the final decks? Does anyone know?
Friday, I think.
So we've got 6 entries at the moment. Botox Haas, Champ, Goshen, Not So Sleepy, Paisley Park, and Miranda. So, who wants to kick us off with the Long Walk Hurdle?
I'm always happy to go first.
Come on,
but I'd say in this instance I shouldn't go first because I'll just complete it and then the rest of you will all be starstruck. Someone else going first. I reckon when we talk about the declarations in there, especially for this race, like all 6 of these are going to turn up. I don't think too many races are going to cut up. Anywho, someone else go first.
Joe. Go on, I'll start if you want, though, Joe.
Oh, Joe.
Go on then, Joe.
I'll make my debut as I'm here as a one-off, guys. But yeah, it's first of all, obviously, thanks for having me. Can't wait for this one. It's quite an interesting race for quite a small field. Obviously, we've got Champ and Paisley Park setting the standard here, but to me, Champ seems to do his very best first time out, and I think John Joe pretty much squeezed every ounce of him out of him last time out as well. And I think Paisley Park may even get the better of Champ of this occasion based on those credentials only, but I don't think either of them would be getting my money this time. I'd definitely be inclined to probably look at a few of the ones that are a little bit younger in the market now. Botox has some really nice form. He's won at Cheltenham, Haydock, Plumpton and Fontwell. But then there's a slight worry for me that he's been campaigned left-handed all the way around his seasons, to be honest. So he comes here right-handed. He won at Cheltenham, obviously, behind the per temps favourite Shoot First to Charles Burns. And then he won at Cheltenham as well. So he's got to have a big chance on form, but I'm just concerned why Gary Moore is only sending this one left-handed. He doesn't seem to jump a particular way, but that has to be a little bit worried. So I think I maybe just about side with the 7-year-old mare Miranda here. Look, the winner for me, quite a long way out at Kempton, and she gets the allowance here as well, which don't get me wrong, I do think she's going to need, but that was the first time that she tried 3 miles, and the engine is definitely going to be one that's there. She jumped pretty well. I guess the question is the form genuine? I guess probably we're going to find that out this time. But for me, I'm just about going to side with Miranda, but I will be annoyed if Botox Has gets the job done.
Lovely. Like that. Thank you, Joe. Miranda for Joe. Johnny, come on in.
Well, yeah, you know me, I like my Botox Has, don't I? Followed it off a cliff several times, but he's come up trumps this season with a couple of really good performances. Now, I'm a little bit torn with this because he's already qualified for the Pertemps. Now, is he going to be serious about this and go for it, or is he going to be tailed off and drop a few pounds ready for the Pertemps in March? So I'm a little bit sort of torn what to do. But I think they went for a better race last time. I think it was a Class 1, which he ended up winning. I think he was one of the outsiders in that. I think he was about 15-2. Maybe they were just a little bit surprised by him in that, so they thought they might as well throw him in here and see how he gets on. I mean, he's rated 150, so he definitely needs to drop for the Pertemps, I would suggest. So if he is tailed off, then I'll probably be backing him for that. But of the others, yeah, I agree with Joe a little bit on Champ. He does go well fresh. Not so sure this is his bag. Paisley, I think he probably would have preferred it at Ascot with a stiffer test. I'm not so sure that Kempton would be his track now as he's getting on a little bit. But I'm sort of torn between, I don't know. I think I'm going to have to go with Botox Has, aren't I? I've talked myself into it.
Otherwise, I was just about to say you've given us the longest talk ever about a horse that you said isn't going to win it.
I'm not going to. I mean, when I looked at him the other day, I did have a sneaky bet on him. Actually, he was 8-1, and I think he's 9-2 now. So I've backed him each way, but it's only 2 places. But yeah, I'm going to have to stick with him, aren't I? I can't desert him now. I'm going to go for it. Put him up.
Botox Has.
Go Botox Has, yeah.
Botox Has for Johnny. We're going to have to finish off with Dave here because he's going to wrap the race up for us. So, Rainman, go on.
I'm going to stick with Champ only because I was reading some of the comments that John Joe Jr. was saying about, and he said he still feels quite fresh after his win at the Long Walk Hurdle. I'm not convinced about Paisley Park now. I think obviously his miracle win at Cheltenham was out this well, but it seems to kind of regress from there. Agree what Joe and Johnny have just said about Botox Has. He's the one I put as the dark horse. He's got a higher official rating than Miranda and has won better graded races than Miranda at Haydock and Fontwell. I know Fontwell was 2 mile free, but that caught my eye. Goshen had a great performance over 2 mile free, but again, it's a bit unproven over 3 miles. And not so sleepy, he's just not so sleepy. So probably won't really threaten. But yeah, so if you pin me down, I'm going to go with Champ.
Champ for him. Alex.
I'll keep this quite simple. I can't have Champ because he's best first time out and he's only good at Newbury. I don't like Miranda because I think she's a handicapper. Don't like Paisley Park because I think he's too slow for this track. I don't think Goshen will stay. I think Not So Sleepy's a pig. So I'm going to stick with Botox Has, the same as Johnny.
Wow.
Yes.
So there we go. So he's not going attempt. Okay, so before we go to Dave, I do just want to just to add at this point that Dave, I've also got to say congratulations on this great blog you're currently running at gg.co.uk. If anyone hasn't seen it, get across there. Oh, yeah,
Nice plug.
I didn't even think of that.
Nice plug.
So get across there. He's doing a Cheltenham Ante-Post blog, and it's a cracking read. And I've had a little read today, and you've even had a talk about this. So I've got an idea where you could be going here. So,
yeah, you probably have, to be fair. Thank you for that. That's very kind of you. Thank you for having me on. It's quite nice because I just like to talk horse. I don't know if you've gathered that yet. And like that, having an outlet to talk about stuff's quite nice. I do all the writing and the notes and stuff anyway. So the fact I've got somewhere now to shove it out is even better. I think it's a pretty good read, to be fair. I've only been doing it a few weeks, but it's getting better.
it is.
This race, right? Normally the Long Walk Hurdle, the worst year I can remember in recent years is when the World's End won it. And that was a dog shit race. Lammy Surge was in there. He's like dogged it. He dogged it a year after, didn't he, when he could have won it. And as much as that it could be a bit of a pish race, when the World's End won it, there wasn't really a grade 1 horse in the race. in this instance, there are some Grade 1 horses in there. You look at the ones that have won this in the past. Champ, Paisley before that. Even Sam Spinner was favourite for a Stayers Hurdle, wasn't he? You know what I mean, Harry? Thistlecrack, Rev de Savoda, big bikes, like it's proper horses that go and win it. And people are saying Miranda. Fucking Miranda. Right, this is ridiculous. Miranda's, I always knock the mare stuff, but the mares, they get an allowance for a reason. They're just not as good.
Like
and anyone that earns a rating in the mare sphere, it's an inflated range. I know she's got the Kempton form, but she has no chance. She's only the price that she is now because she's an owner's group horse. They won't get best odds guaranteed. They'll all be having a couple of quid on because Paul Nichols would have sent an email out saying she's flying at home, course and distance winner, all that sort of stuff. She'll go off at 6 or 7 to 1. She's got no chance. Botox has his semi-interesting because he did win that. Can't remember the race. Terrible of me. Back end of last season in February, he beat Bruno Up a Storm, didn't he? So he actually has won a Grade 2. So he's done. He has done nicely this season. We know he's going to stay, but I just don't think he's good enough. But he would be in the semblance of when the World's End won it. So wouldn't be the biggest job. I don't really like him. I do see what people say about Champ with his reappearance because he is a bit in and out, but he has won more races than he loses in every sphere. So he's 7 out of 12 over hurdles, isn't he? His run last year in the Cleve was ridiculous, wasn't it? Because Paisley just got left at the start, flew past him like he'd just jumped in with 1 hurdle left. And that's the sort of thing with Paisley. I know Cheltenham is more of a galloping surface, but I don't see a problem with him at Kempton. I don't see a problem with him at any track. I think it just depends the way the race is set up for him. So Paisley's got a bit of a chance. Champ's got an obvious chance because they are well clear of everything else on ratings, apart from the Nutter Goshen, isn't they? He's an absolute level horse, isn't he?
No.
But I was semi-interested in because he was 7 to 1. They're definitely going to run him in. They're going to run him at Ascot, weren't they? I think the owners even said today they booked the holiday for the day after the Ascot race because they've gone off to Dubai. They wanted to watch him run at Ascot, so he was going to go there anyway. But Kempton will suit him better because we all talk about it being more of a speedy track. His dad is authorised. Tiger Roll, Nichols Canyon in there. And I think this is a sort of horse. You know how good he was. He would have won the Triumph. We always talk about the 4-year-old stepping up in trip after, didn't we? Didn't do that. Got campaigned for a champion hurdle, and we saw how he is left-handed. But he's a bit of a beast right-handed, isn't he? I do worry about how keen and stuff he can be in there. But I think if Champ and Paisley Park are both going to underperform, Goshen's just better than everything else. So, I mean, it is a tentative selection, but Goshen will win. And then the reason why I was a bit animated about the long walk hurdle is it's shit in the grand scheme of things, isn't it? No matter what wins this, nothing's going to be winning the Stayers Hurdle from this. We know Goshen's got to go this way around. He can't do anything at Cheltenham. Champ's too old. Paisley's too old. None of them are really that good. That's why on your list, when you didn't have the Jack de Bromhead Christmas Hurdle in there, that's the race we need to be talking about. So I know we're doing chronological order. I reckon we should shoehorn in that because it's still the same Stayers Hurdle sphere, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And rather than wasting all our time talking about this long walk where we've all admitted there, haven't we? No one really knows what's going to win. I don't think anyone really cares either, do they? No one's having a stonking bet here. But that race at Leopardstown's insane. So I mean, I'll shut up for now. But if we did want to move on to that just for fluency, I reckon it's worth it.
I think that's a good shout. I had a look at that earlier because when I was looking at one of our later races, I think it was the Mathesons. And there's an entry in the Bob Ollinger's entered in the Mathesons, and I was thinking, surely Bob's got to be going for the Jack de Bromhead hurdle.
Oh, definitely. That's the other thing with it as well. You guys in your Ante-Post tips, you've got Stayers Hurdle bloody runners in here. You've put up Ante-Post, and you're trying to swerve talking about them. Get it in there. I reckon the guys that have put one up Ante-Post, Bob Ollinger's been put up, hasn't he? Zanahere's been put up. Get them on. Yeah. Get them two talking about.
You'll have to shoehorn that in because it could. If Bob goes there and wins that, then it's going to be a pretty emotional day. I would have thought.
And that's the winner of that race, or the winner of the Stayers Hurdle will be in that race. Doesn't necessarily have to win the race. I don't think. Depends how tactically goes, but definitely a Cheltenham Festival winner is in that race.
We're coming back to it later. We've already changed the plan. Look at that. How adaptable we are here.
Fine.
Exchange. With that,
keeps people watching, doesn't it? Keeps that retention up.
Wayne Harrison will be creaming at this. I'm telling you. Superb. So Goshen for Dave. Lovely.
That was it. Yeah.
To try and create a bit of interest in this race, could the jockey booking here influence between Botox Has and Goshen potentially? That's a no then.
Only one's not confirmed.
We
Apart
know
from Champ, but that'd be John Joe.
Jamie will be riding Goshen, won't he? There's no way anyone else is going to be sat on the back of him.
No one else would risk it.
Yeah, exactly, and like no one else has, have they? So 1,000,000%. That's what I mean. Botox has isn't even the stable first string.
It's a bit of a nutters race, isn't it? Really.
You wouldn't want to jump off him for something like Botox has when he's got the graded form as well, would you? I mean, I know he's a nutter, but
it's just full of roads.
You haven't you then? At least you
This
know.
is going to be quite controversial, but I don't think Jamie Moore's actually that good. I'd be quite happy for someone else to jump on Botox has.
Silence. I'm with you though. No, he's not a worldie, is he? Does his job.
No.
Goshen could win the Sports Personality Award himself, couldn't he? Just use that. Mental. But I think that Twitter would erupt if he does get the job done, regardless of what happens. If he gets this job done over 3 miles, Twitter will just go mental for him.
Oh yeah, he's got so many fans.
I'm the same. I mean, when Champ won that RSA, I was going bloody crackers. I was messaging my dad that I won the Gold Cup in 2 years. Told him, what mark my words, Jesus Christ. How wrong I was. Right, moving swiftly along, but staying on Boxing Day. Stephen staying on. And the big race of the day, King George. People waiting for Brave Man's game. Royal Pagaille being entered today, did I?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
thrown
in.
in last minute. So
Rather than the Welsh national.
Yeah. So
Hoyt as well. He's been declared, hasn't he? Lucinda said today he's going. That's a big price, you know. That's a big price tag there.
Yeah, he's been nibbled now. He's only 20s now.
33. Mind you, he's probably longer than that now after the run the other week.
I wouldn't touch him at 50s.
Yeah, the less said about me, the better. So Venetia's got 2 currently at the moment now, Royal Pagaille and Long Press. Not Press A.
Press A.
Sky Sports today, every single one of them were on there calling it Press A. I was
Nick Luck was calling Long Press A. I listened to his podcast. He was saying Long Press A.
Probably me wrong, but I'll be having words with my mother. French teacher, evening soup. Put them straight. She'd be going nuts. So yes, right. Really moidering on tonight. So King George, all the talk's been about Brave Man's game and Long Presse. Envoy Allen in here.
Who?
Long Presse. Hitman. Royal Pagaille. Right, who wants to kick us off? Go on, Alex.
Go on then. I'm going to side with Long Press or Long Presse, however you want to pronounce it.
Press.
I was really impressed with his run at Newcastle. It was quite brave to go in a handicap when he was running with obviously top weight, and I think the second horse was off 10 stone 2. And I think that's always quite a tough thing to do for some of these horses. I backed him for the Brown Pants race at the festival last year as well. I would have been very happy if he'd taken on Brave Man's game at Cheltenham, and I'm happy for him to take him on here. I think he's a bit of a bridle pig. He'll be one of these. He'll be 2 furlongs out, looking like he's absolutely cruising Brave Man's game. As soon as he gets off the bridle, basically stop. So yeah, I'll side with Long Press or Long Presse.
There's one in the eye for Brave Man's game there. Ian?
I'm going to follow Alex, and I'm going to go with Long Press as well. And I think it literally could come down to, if I put my weather hat on, I think it could come down to the weather. There's rain forecast, I believe, tomorrow, all day tomorrow, most of Friday as well. So I think Long Press will get the ground he wants. I know Brave Man's game has won at Kempton on soft over 3 miles, so it could be a factor. But I think she'll obviously the Venetia horses are better on the softer ground, so I think that would be the factor for me. Just to go through some of the others, I can't see Hitman really threatening. Envoy could be interesting. So he won at 3 miles at Downroll in November. Fairly inconsistent. Same with Royal Pagaille, fairly inconsistent. Frodon's not good enough now, but will possibly be the pacemaker for Brave Man's game. Ahoy Signor's obviously been beaten by Brave Man's game and Long Press, so may have a lot to find with them too. That's about it, to be honest. So yeah, Long Press for me. I say it could literally come down to the ground.
Thank you, Ian. 2 for a Long Press so far. Dave, what's winning it?
I've been on Google to see if I can get her to say Long Presse.
Long Presse.
Oh, Long Presse. I think that's actually French for doesn't win the King George. I don't like Long Presse. I think he's overinflated. He is definitely a very, very good horse. I have only ever had money on Long Presse once in my life, and I backed him in the Sandown Handicap a couple of years ago, where he just jumped left like an absolute pig, and then he's just won pretty much every race ever since. And he is very, very good. He does jump that little bit to his left, and I think he's just a terrible stinking price now. So obviously he has got a chance. He probably is in and around the right price now, but yeah, I don't know. One of them. Never massively warm to him, but he is very good. I think he is just inflated though. He made mistakes in that handicap the last day, didn't he? Won that off 164. So in theory, if he hadn't have made those mistakes and he won it more impressively, potentially his rating could be higher than that. I think it's just a bit inflated. And some of these weight carrying performances and handicaps, I do think get over-egged because they are just worldies of horses. They can just go quicker. It was like Froden when he won the Badger Beers. I backed that Irish Prophecy in the race, really fancied that, and it just couldn't go the pace of Froden in a Grade 1. And it would have been similar like that with Long Presse in there. The horses were just not capable of going the gallop that he could do. So he is definitely good. I think he's a bit overinflated, but there we are with that. Shouldn't really talk about horses I don't like, should I? Speaking of horses I don't like, Brave Man's Game does my head in. I know Nichols is a master for this race, and he said that he's lined up for it, but and I know it's bad to sort of crab a horse in it, but he does jump really, really well. But I just don't really think he's ever actually beaten anything. Like, he's not beaten anything when they've been good. If he'd have run at Cheltenham, Long Presse would have spanked him, I think. And I know they moaned about the ground. Eldorado Allen that he beat in the Charlie Hall, let's not be rude to Eldorado Allen, but that's all he beat, didn't he? And Eldorado Allen was giving him a few pounds as well. He beat Itchy Feet before, Fusel Raffles. Now, I know he did beat Ahoy Senior round here last year, but that's an interesting thing with that trio, isn't it? They were the best novices last year. They were quite mitchy-matchy, like beating each other, and they were all capable of doing it. On their Racing Post ratings last year, there was only £1 between the three of them. Long Presse does jump pretty well, apart from a little bit left. Brave Man's Game normally jumps quite well. I think he's pecked a couple of times, but maybe even here last year. But Ahoy Senior doesn't really jump that well. He jumped like a table at Cheltenham, and he still gets within a few lengths of them. So before when they said they might be running him, I know that Lucinda Russell's partner, Peter Scudamore, loves the horse and knows he's a Grade 1 horse. So when they're entertaining running him in the Road of Merrick, it's just offensive to the horse. He was favourite for this, like the novice race last year, wasn't he? So I'm glad he's running. He was way too big a price at 40s and 50s. He is into about 20s now. Probably still too big. The problem with him is he is probably going to make a few mistakes, isn't he? But if you could ever forgive him and say he could make a couple of mistakes and still get close to these horses, like he made mistakes at Aintree and still beat a few of them, I reckon Ahoy Senior could go very, very close in this because he won't care what anyone else is doing. The thing with him as well is they know they talked about him before as being a soft ground horse. I don't think he is. I don't think he jumps well enough to be soft ground. I think he wants better ground for it. But happy to be proven wrong. At the end of the day, he's got a 5% chance of winning the race at the prices. Envoy's about the right price, I think, but I'm not 100% convinced about Henry de Bromhead's travelling horses. I've had a bee in my bonnet about this for a few years. I can't go back to some of the old ones because I can't remember their names. But remember, Manila Indo was just a write-off in the King George before. A Plutard obviously did it recently at Haydock. When he first had Envoy, when he fell in that Turners and everyone was waiting for him for loads of money, weren't they? He'd only just left Gordon Elliott's, and I know there could have been a move thing, but he travelled on his own over with not some of the other Henry de Bromhead horses like normal. So I wonder about some of these horses sometimes when they're travelling over, whether I don't know what his routine or something is. So it's a very loose thing, but that would worry me with him. Hitman, I think, will run well for a long way, but it should be Brave Man's Game, Long Presse or Ahoy Senior wins this, and I just think the price discrepancy between them two and then Ahoy Senior, for the fact that I do know he jumps like an absolute twat most of the time, but imagine he didn't. He has put in some half-decent performances. That race at Newbury, we beat Mr. Incredible, who is dog shit. That's a flat, speedy enough track, Newbury. I reckon Ahoy Senior's a massive price, so I will be back in, and I already have, Ahoy Senior. In a double with Goshen. I haven't done it in a double Goshen, but he'll win. Ahoy Senior, I like him a lot.
I like that because I'm on Ahoy Senior. So fingers crossed. Woohoo! 50p each way in. On that note, John, I'm going to have to come to you. Ahoy Senior, he was one of yours for the season.
He was, and I do still like him. I mean, I agree exactly with what Dave said. His jumping is just left a lot to be desired this year, but he can put in a good round, and if he does do that, he definitely will be within 4 or 5 lengths of them, won't he? And he could even be up top by then. But I'm not going to choose him, but I think I'll definitely cover him because I just think at that price I can't afford not to cover him because I think he's capable of winning this. Put it that way, he's capable of winning if he jumps well. He's got a great chance. Out of the top two, I'm not massive fans of either of them either, to be honest. If I had to pick one out of them, it'd be Long Press. Because if it came to a battle, I think he'd out-battle Brave Man's Game, to be perfectly honest with you, out of those two. But the one I've backed already is Envoy LN. I just think, I looked at the prices this morning, and he was 8-1 and Hitman was 9-2. And I'm like, how's that happened? He's miles better than Hitman. He'll run Hitman. I think he'll beat Hitman easily. So if you back him each way, I reckon he's got a great chance of the first three. And he could win because I think he's unexposed at this distance. And he could just come out with another great performance. And, you know, like you were saying about Goshen, about not a dry eye in the house. I think it'd be the same with him, with that money that people lost on him that time when he fell in the Turners or the Marshall, whatever it was then. I'm just going to have to go with him as my number one choice is Envoy, but I will do a little bit each way on a hoist, senor.
Lovely. Thank you, John. Joe, wrap it up for us.
Sure. I mean, following the trend, I had a few quid prior to our meeting today, actually, on a hoist senor. Just too big. I managed to get a little piece of the 33s, but that was just me being greedy, to be honest. I actually do have quite a strong fancy in this race. One I definitely don't like. Sorry, Jonathan, I don't like Envoy Allen at all. I think that down roll form absolutely stinks, actually. The race seemed to fall apart. He didn't really jump his way around there very nicely. I don't actually like the way he travelled as well. And when we're coming up against two horses like Brave Man's Game, Long Presser, they're big, physical, imposing types who barely miss a beat. He's not going to have a chance to get back on song with these two when they're out there, I don't think, bowling along in front. So the way I see this going, I think the only way Brave Man's Game wins this is by taking it prominently from the front. And I think Long Presser, I think Charlie's just going to have to sit behind him between the last and the two out on the last fence. He's going to have to give Long Presser a squeeze. And I genuinely believe that this could come down to the final fence. Whoever jumps that last one best, because either of them don't necessarily have a turn of foot, but Brave Man's Game doesn't put a foot wrong. We haven't seen him be nudged back yet, but I don't think he's going to be able to gain his position again with a bad jump. So I think if Charlie Deutsch just tracks him all the way around and attacks him at the last, I think he's just going to have too much power for Brave Man's Game coming up the hill. I really do like Brave Man's Game, but tactically, he just doesn't seem to have any gears. So for me, Long Presser takes the world of beat in this race tomorrow on Boxing Day even.
Love it. Long Press then. For a few of you in here. A hoist in your lovely each way price. The Brave Man's Game written off. Matty will be chuffed.
Yeah.
So that's the King George done, folks. Look forward to that on Boxing Day. So while we're at Kempton on Boxing Day, we better have a very quick look at the Christmas Hurdle at 155. Few unknowns going in here. So anybody got anything to say about this? Probably not. Yeah. Dave, anything to say on this?
He just wins, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Wins everything.
Off the track.
Wins everything.
It is good though that they've put a few runners in there, because I know people are worried about it being like a small field and stuff, and I know it is a bit pathetic, but there is like prize money on behind. It is a prestigious Grade 1. I like the race, but he should just not even come out of gear, should he, against any of these?
No. Do you think Ante-Post will run again?
Firm pulls him out.
Be second.
Yeah. So Royale third.
No, Napper's Hill third.
Tricast. No, fuck Napper's Hill.
I don't think Napper's Hill goes, does he? Paul Nicholls just keeps saying there's no point taking on Constitution Hill, so I think he's going to save Napper's Hill for something else. They got rid of the Contenders Hurdle at Sandown as well, didn't they? A race that Henderson used to throw one in, so I'm pretty sure Reputation will run in it. They'll be happy to keep getting a beat when they push a price up for the Mayor's Hurdle.
Yeah.
Which one's that?
I hope so.
Was she winning that?
Are we doing the Kauto Star Novices Chase? The Feltham, the Kauto Star Novices Chase.
Ian, was it on your list? Ian? We can be.
It's not. I'm trying to find it now. Where is it?
It wasn't, but if Dave wants to add something on it, then if there's anything else on that day.
Oh, no, we don't have to. I could talk about all of them. It looks a decent race, doesn't it? Best of the British will be going in there. I was just curious to know if anyone had looked at him, what they fancied in it, because I won't be having a bet. I'm hoping Gelino Bello just gets beat because he doesn't like it. It's too quick a track for him, and then I'd fancy him a little bit later on at Cheltenham. But I was just wondering if anyone else had a fancy in it. If not, don't worry, we'll move on.
Alex,
Shut up,
Time
not my
Hill.
show.
Yeah, I hope Time Hill bounces back, but I don't know. Can't really see it. But what I did like in there is that Ballygriffin Cottage. I think he'll beat McFabulous. He looked pretty impressive the other day. He could be, I mean, could be even more than like a 3-miler. I mean, I think a few people have touted him up for the National Hunt Chase. So, yeah, that's the Skelton and Ballygriffin Cottage. I think that I take him over McFabulous at this stage.
You won't want to back McFabulous at 6-5, would you? Put it that way. It's absolutely horrendous price. So, yeah, I'd probably go with Alex on that one, just having a quick scan through the names there. But I do hope Time Hill bounces back as well. I'd like to see him run a lot better. Was there anything wrong with him last time, or was it just a below par performance?
No, they didn't find anything, and even Holt said that he scored him last year and he was brilliant, but he seems to leave a little bit out there when he gets to the track. But his engine's huge. We've seen it. So if they can get that going over fences, I know everyone wrote him off quite quickly, but we do that quite quick with the horses, maybe a little bit too quickly these days. If he comes back and runs well on Boxing Day, then he's going to be back into a lot of Ante-Post books, I'm sure. I haven't got involved and I probably won't, but I won't go writing a horse off with that sort of engine just yet. He was quite good on his first day, that's for sure.
Yeah.
He put in a few weird performances when he was over hurdles, like staying hurdle races on those sort of, when he was on the Stayers hurdle campaigns, put in a few weird performances there. And I thought it was a bit weird because another thing for the Hobbs, he put him in so quickly, didn't he? Normally he needs quite a lot of time between his races.
Yeah. Maybe it was a bit of a bounce.
Yeah, he fixed himself from when he went over and ran that stinker and O'Toy, didn't he? He just looks like he needs a little bit of a time sometimes, hence the name. But he did. I think with a little bit more schooling, just a little bit more practice, I wouldn't go writing him off too quickly for the Brown Advisory. I mean, the market hasn't quite opened up fully just yet as well, so. I would definitely write a horse with his engine off too quickly.
Nice one. Ian?
No further comments, Your Honour.
And Dave, Gelino Bello beat.
Well, yeah, I honestly, I genuinely think it's a pretty good race. And we said about like there, it's touched on the Brown Advisory is pretty open, isn't it? We'll go on to the Neville's Hotel Novice Letter because I know that was on Ian's list, but Willie's only shoved one of the big three in there, isn't he? So it is like a market that is tidy open. And in there, like as much as they're all probably maybe much of a muchness in that Kauto Novices Chase, they won't end the season like that. So you could end up getting maybe 2 of them pull well clear of the rest of the field. And I reckon we could have a half decent one in there. Ballygriffin Cottage, he does look like he's the type of horse that could go and put in a massive one. The thing with that Gelino Bello, like I couldn't back him in that race. I don't think that it will suit him in the slightest. But if he was to win it, or get close, he will shit home in the Brown Advisory. Absolutely shit home in it. But I don't think he'll finish anywhere close at Kempton. But it still wouldn't put me off for Cheltenham. We'll see. I'll shut up.
I want to go back to something Joe was just saying about writing horses off quick. Honest to God, now I was thinking about this today, and I thought if there's a chance to get it in, I think it's happening all the time at the moment. We keep saying about Ante-Post markets being ridiculous at how short the prices are. Everything's just getting chopped to hell. Whether it is because there's so much content out there, I don't know, but there doesn't seem to be any value in Ante-Post. And it also seems that people are losing their minds, writing horses off left, right, and centre. I mean, for me, Aplutard, that run at Haydock was too bad to be him regressing. There was something not quite right on that, the way he almost stopped. And everyone's written him off as like 9-10 to 1 for the Gold Cup now. That Gold Cup run last year, I thought was fantastic. And people just seem to be losing their minds. And I wonder whether it is this Constitution Hill factor where, because there's this new superstar, everyone's expectations have gone through the roof.
I mean, if Aplutard gets
me harking on, but has anyone got any thoughts? Because it does seem like horses are just getting written off left, right, and centre.
Sure.
I keep going back to the fact that something can't be right in the Bromhead stable, but Honeysuckle's had a bad race and she's finished. Aplutard's finished. It's bonkers.
I mean, the first thing to probably say about the Ante-Post markets now in particular, the last few years, I feel they're a lot more open. I feel there's a lot more people playing Ante-Post markets than there were 10 years ago. So I think that's a big influence now. But it does definitely seem like a case where the bookies are trying to get in front of the punters now. Like, for instance, with Al Fabiolo was due to come out, they cut him a point prior to the run just in case of whatever happened. Now we can obviously go on to talk about them at another point, but it seems that they're trying to get ahead of us now because the Ante-Post market is so much bigger than it was 5-10 years ago. People really are getting stuck in a little bit more. Personally, that's how I feel it is. I feel it's a very attractive market, isn't it? We all after the value as well. So there's definitely a lot of money down already, you know, for sure.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, that's it, isn't it? Everybody's playing it.
And maybe just with Applutard, just to mention as well, if we're going to judge a horse on its best form, you maybe have to look at the Gold Cup last year. Could you see Galopin de Champs coming up the hill the same way Applutard did? Definitely couldn't see Brave Man's Game doing that. He's got no turn of foot, has he? It's probably for another conversation. But just to mention how we do write them off. If Applutard comes back all guns blazing, Galopin de Champs, he's not going to have an easy time out there.
That's what that's what I'm hoping.
It's like people seem to want their horses to go to the festival with like a string of ones to their name. It's just not realistic, is it? I mean, horses that have been beaten often go and win for, grade ones at the festival.
Good. I've had my rant. There we go. Speaking about ranting, we're going to mention Mark McKay. I love Mark's podcast, and he was having a good old rant the other day, actually. So
Quality,
loved it. Absolutely loved it, Mark. Get back on with us soon. So we'll move on next to the Welsh National. Oh, patriotic moment here, John, for us. Even though we'd probably get to London quicker than we would to Chepstow from up here. So, Welsh National on Tuesday, day after Boxing Day, 250. Who wants to kick us off on the
Got to start with Johnny as the Welsh National.
Oh, thanks.
Dave's a fan then, and then
Dave, do you want to go first?
Come on, we got to give Dave's a guest. Come on,
come on, Dave. You go first. I'll go second.
I have zero interest in the Welsh National.
Oh, right.
Oh.
It has become just that, though, hasn't it? It's not like a pure steeplechase like we envision it, is it? Now it's just a 3 mile plus chase now, effectively, right? Doesn't it seem?
Log.
Well, my selection is rather boring as well because I do like the favourite here, Quick Wave for Venetia. Now she's only 5-1, but I think she's the one to beat. She's probably been laid out for this race as well. She had a bit of a gap. But without being so boring, horse in the race for Henry Daly, Fortescue, has actually managed to beat her twice. He beat her last year, and then he beat her in 2020 as well. And he is one that seems to stay all day. So if you look for a bit of value, then maybe take a little second glance at Fortescue. But Quick Wave, I mean, I don't know the last time a mare even won the Welsh National, if there's even been one before. But 5-1's a little bit skinny, but I do think she's pretty well in here. And Venetia's won it a few times before. It's going to be hard to beat.
Am I going next? I think my initial selection, it's still in the race, but I believe might not be going, which was Eva's Oscar,
right.
which I backed immediately after the Cheltenham win last time out because I thought there was a lot to come. But I've heard that there's a bit of a niggle going on there, so I'm just putting that to one side at the moment. Now, the one I've selected for this is a horse I don't really like, to be perfectly honest with you, but looking at some of his back form, he's got a lot of Chepstow form for a start. If you look at his actual, picking out his races, he was only 3.5 lengths behind Brave Man's Game back at Newbury in February. He had a little spin over hurdles last time out. Was nowhere near, just almost tailed off at the back. Probably just to get him right for this. Don't blow his mark. And that's Pat's Fancy. I think 12-1's a reasonable price. My slight concern is he seems to have different jockeys every single time he races. He's had Ben Godfrey, Barry O'Neill, James Bowen, Ben Jones, Sean Bowen. Rachel's ridden him when he was over in Ireland. He seems to be ridden by so many different jockeys. So I don't know, if that's a good thing or a bad thing, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, some horses probably not bothered, but others like to get on with the jockeys, don't they? But I just think his form is pretty good. And like I say, he's got the course form, lots of course form. And I think he's off a mark of 142. He finished 5th in last year's National Chase. He didn't run very well in that, to be honest. And he was dropped £1 after that. But I just think he's got a reasonable each-way chance at 12-1.
Rain Man?
Oh.
Right. Not said anything for a while, so...
That's right. I was just... funny enough, I was trying to do my stats for this, and it looks like over the past 2 years, the winner of the Grand National actually carries a feather, so literally 10 stone or 10 stone and a bit of loose change. The last horse to win the National at top weight was Native River in 2016. I think Elegant Escape won 2018, 11 stone 8, but it's normally a horse that carries nothing. But when I was going through the list, there's not really much at a lower weight that really caught my eye. But there's one that's 10 stone 10. I'm going to take a chance on it. It's 25 to 1. It's Musical Slave, Hobbs and JP McManus. I would say John Joe would probably be jocked on. There's a couple of bits of back form I saw. Doesn't normally win first time out. So it was 5th in November when it ran at Haydock this season. Last season was 3rd behind Win My Wings that went on to win the Ida. And then Musical Slave went on to win the handicap chase over 3 miles at Sandown, and 3 mile 1 at Haydock. And then was 8 lengths behind Hewick. Obviously, he was, what's gone on to do since in the 365 at Sandown over 3 mile 5. So it will go the distance. I say nice way back 10 stone 10. There was a couple that caught my eye. One was called Punitive for Gordon Elliott. Probably needs heavy or softer ground. One at Fairy House over 3 mile 5 at the beginning of the month and was ran well at Cheltenham, was 2nd over 3 mile 1. And there was another one I saw from Rebecca Curtis called Wayfinder that's got quite good form at Chepstow. But the only thing that put me off, Rebecca Curtis, her form's absolute piss in a minute. It's awful. I can't remember the last time she won. So that really put me off. But
you can't slag Rebecca off.
But somebody's like Galloping Bear will need heavy ground. Big Dog wants to win the Grand National Trial, but is carrying 11.10 now. He's carrying 10 stone 11 then. John was saying about Pat's Fancy. Yes, he ran in the National Hunt Chase, was 5th, but has never won over 3 miles. And 3 under through 5 is again carrying top weights, so it could be a tough ask. So I'm going to go with Musical Slave.
Musical Slave. Why do you say John Joe will be jocked up though?
Only because it's a JP horse. And Aidan Coleman, who would normally ride, I would guess would ride, is on the Big Dog.
Is he over riding Champ? Have you got Aidan riding Champ at Kempton?
It does not, from what I looked on the entries, Champ's not got a jockey yet, but I would say it'd be John Joe.
Got to have John Joe on the after last time, surely.
Yeah, Aidan will be on Paisley, won't he?
Yeah,
of course he will.
Different day, isn't it? Because it's the
Boxing Day on the 27th.
Yeah.
I can't think who else would potentially ride for JP.
It might
he's got one or two. He's got time to get up in this as well.
He's got time to get up for his old man, hasn't he? That's why I was.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Wondering why you said that in particular, because just looking at that Musical Slave, O'Brien normally rides it. Well, he rides for JP anyway, doesn't he? Quite often. Anyway, yes, Alex.
Well, after Ian's named all 20 horses in the race, I'm going to name one. I'm going to stick with Harry Fry's Ask Me Early. He was favourite for this race last year, but fell a couple of weeks before while schooling, so he missed the race. He's 3 from 4 at the course, including winning on heavy ground, soft ground, and good ground. So whatever the ground is, I'm not too bothered about. Last time out, he finished 3rd behind Lamilos, who then went on to win the Hennessy. He's been dropped a pound for that effort as well. At the moment, it says he's going to be off 10 stone 3, but I mean, with Royal Pagaille coming out, I think that'll probably go up to 10 stone 8, which doesn't put me off too much. And yeah, this has been the long-term target, so I'll go with Harry Fry's Ask Me Early.
Nice.
Like that one. Dave, no interest, but
I will just say one thing. I will just say one thing, because I am a bit of an old romantic with some of this stuff anyway, but this race has been run in the memory of Kim Gingle in it since she passed away. So the last few years it's been run in her memory, and obviously Freddie is now riding in it, and this will be his first ride in the race. Paul Nichols lets him have the spin on Truckers Lodge, who's done well here. He's been second in it a couple of years ago off a couple of pound lower mark, I think. So I mean, it is a 10-year-old, but he's like a 25 to 1 pound. I'm sure there'll be extended places. It's good that Alex mentioned Ask Me Early, because I haven't looked at the race, but I think that's a pretty fair shout, to be honest with you, because I'd forgotten the fact that he missed the race last year. But yeah, that run behind Milos definitely wouldn't have been him 100% trying, I wouldn't have thought.
No.
We have a couple of quid on that. Cheers, mate.
Oh, thank you.
There we go. Look at that.
High
Teamwork.
praise indeed.
See, cross-channel teamwork. What more can you ask? Get on the Cheltenham Exchange and Cheltenham. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Right, so yeah, just before we leave the Welsh National, then, yeah, John Evers Oscar. That was after it beat Spirit of the Games, wasn't it? And we were talking about it and got on then. I'm absolutely convinced we're still on the race card this morning. And then looking at it tonight, I was like, "Where's he gone?" And so I went looking. Went on Tim Vaughan on Racing Post or whatever. And if you go on Evers Oscar on the horse, the entry's still there for the Welsh National, but not on the race.
Yeah, I've just heard a bit of a rumour that it may not go, but we'll see.
Okay. Some great
it was confirmations today, wasn't it? So it did have an entry, but confirmations were today at 1 o'clock, weren't they? So it didn't confirm the horse.
Yeah, that's right.
You can track all the BHA stuff. You know, years ago, Festival Racing, I can't remember his name now, and I think it's Andrew Smith used to get his highlighter out, didn't he, and give everyone the
yeah.
But you don't need to log in for it now. So it's like, you see plenty of people like tweeting it saying, "Oh, this horse has been declared," or "so and so has been confirmed." If you just go on the BH, or just Google BHA declarations, you can watch them live. So from the morning of because they close by 10 o'clock, but for like 40-hour declarations, you can just watch and see if a horse is declared.
Yeah.
So go on BHA, Google it. It's always worth doing.
Love it.
Anyway, I'll shut up. Don't care.
No, not at all. So that's the Welsh National. Before we leave the Welsh National, I have got the winner of this with. You know me and my how I like to give reasoning and go on everywhere. This is the soundest reasoning there is. So the winner of Welsh Nationals coming over from Ireland, and it's the big dog. And the reason
not that way, OJ.
I'm telling you, the reasoning is quite simple. It's the best name for a horse you could have, isn't it? If you had a horse, what would you call it? There we go. Wins the Welsh Nash. It's a big dog. Love it.
Hell of a performance after the Munster, wouldn't it? And the Troy Town as well.
Yeah. He's Peter Fay. I like following him. He had it away a bit at Cheltenham last year, didn't he? On the last day,
Chopping it off.
No, I like Peter Fay. Okay, so we move over the water and stepping back a day, back to Boxing Day or Stephen's Day, is it in Ireland, I believe?
Yep.
Yeah.
And Leopardstown, the 220. Racing Post app, Novice Chase, Grade 1, 2 miles, 1 furlong. And currently a field of 9, a nice looking field. Running through them quickly. Dysart Dynamo, Highland Charge, Hollow Games, Midnight Run, Mighty Potter, San Noir, 3 Stripe Life, Visionarian, and Field Door. So a nice looking field there. Who's not?
Half of them won't run.
Sorry? No, well, no, there's that many races around Ireland, isn't there, that it's a case of where things will run and won't run, but we've got hats going here. Who wants to go?
Yeah, Dave and Joe.
Dave wants to go there. Go on, Dave.
Well, I always like to go first anyway, but I'm pretty sure Dysart Dynamo is going to run on the I don't know what the days of the week are. 27th, I think it's going to run in the beginner's chase. I keep saying it. San Noir will run, as far as I'm concerned, because that took on field for the last days, a few pounds better off. So that'll be in there. Hollow Games is going to run. And that's the reason why I wanted to talk, because I'll just let my little bit come out and then everyone can have their little two pence after. Because I feel like this is one that does deserve like a bit of a stick. Everyone was rimming Hollow Games last year for an Albert Bartlett, weren't they? And I never looked at him as a horse that... I never thought he was an absolute worldie, but I never thought he was like truly going to stay either. But then as he ran through his season, we saw that race, that Minetta Kakuna and Minetta Karuna race. I thought he actually did look half decent. Then they did try him at 3 miles of Punchtown, didn't they? And he didn't like it. But when he ran on his chase debut at Navan, I cannot believe how much he quickened from the back of the last. I remember Statler last year when he won. I know he ended up winning the 4 miler, but he ran over 2.5, didn't he? And then he just showed like a load of speed. Just made me feel like, actually, I think he is probably quite a good horse. So I know he's got to give a bit of weight to Phil Dorr because they still gets the 4-year-old allowance in this. Remember when Faugheen used to be getting the weight as well. a couple of years back, and then he gets revised at Dublin Racing Festival. But Hollow Games is going to run. I feel like, I wouldn't say like slipping under the radar, because he proved to himself last year that he probably wasn't grade one, but I think he's very interesting. I don't think Phil Dawes very good, to be honest with you. So I reckon he's going to be able to, well, potentially dispatch of him. And I like to just pick holes in John Bon anyway, but John Bon does look like standalone. There's been a few of Willie's that have come out in there. Al Fabiolo, I don't think he did anything wrong today. Thought he was all right. I know a few people were like trying to mock his jumping and stuff, but we'll learn more about him next time. I thought Appreciate It was real good. I think he's a proper like sulky horse, just does whatever he wants, and that's why he maybe looks a bit slow. He's quick. That Supreme that he won over 24 lengths, even his Champion Hurdle, he travelled into that like an absolute monster. I think Appreciate's like a proper 2-miler, but I do think that Hollow Game's interesting. I think he's still I think he's 16 with the bookies. He's about 25s on the exchanges. So I'm probably, I like him as maybe a 2-miler. I don't think he is going to be grade one. I don't think Phil Dawes that good. And I think because he gets the weight off of him, he's priced accordingly to that. I don't think San was that great horse. He's never really fulfilled the promise that he did. And the race is going to massively cut up. So I already have backed Hollow Games at 4-1. And at final declarations, when the field cuts up, if they've still got any 5-2 about him or bigger, I'm going to go in again on Hollow Games. He would it wouldn't be like my strongest fancy ever as a bet, but I'm going to get stuck into Hollow Games in that race. I reckon he's a pretty decent bet. So that's my 2 penneth in that race. Nothing in this will win the Arkle in March though, and it's been proven as like a pretty pantsist trial in the past. I think there's been maybe a couple that have gone and won, but most of them go off favourite and get beat anyway. So anyway, Hollow Games, get stuck in, boys. GSI.
It's a nice strong fancy there for Dave. Matty will be happy again.
Yeah, he loves Hollow Games.
He loves Hollow Games. Go on, Joe.
Yeah, I mean, Dave, that's music to my ears. I'm going to echo everything you said. I think he's a bit of a weapon, actually. I think they trained him absolutely over the wrong trip. Definitely looked better over 2.5 than he did at 3 miles. But just to mention on Phil Dawes first, I do really like him as a horse. He grew on me after winning his beginning chase at Navan, but he's only a 4-year-old at the moment. He's not got a big frame. Hollow Games is 6 going on 7 now, and he's really starting to come into his prime. I really do think that at the prices, he has to be a massive bet. I can't be having Phil Dawes at even money, even though he's going to continue progressing. I just think Hollow Games looks an absolute beast against some of these. You've got a few that aren't going to line up. Dysart's not going to be there. Sambois, Hollow Games will have the beating of him. Obviously, Mighty Pot, a 3-shot life, they've already pulled out of the race. I can't see anything beating Hollow Games. He's one of my best bets over the Christmas period, actually. I think he's been long overlooked. And I honestly believe he's definitely graded company. No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
GSI.
Yeah, get stuck in. Get stuck in.
Oh, this is looking good. Cross-channel, working together again. Oh, bringing it all together. Holly Willoughby. Ian. You next.
I'll keep this short. I think Phil Dawes will win. I know the price is poop. It's even money. And I've put it down only because he's running better class races on Hollow Games. I agree that the Hollow Games did impress me when he won last time out, but I think that just swings it for me. It's purely that Phil Dawes has been in better class of races. So. Unless you said, I reckon there'll be about 4 or 5 runners in the race. It will massively cut up. But I'll just go with Phil Dawes, but only just.
Just Phil Dawes. Alex.
Oh, I'm going to join the Hollow Games bandwagon. All aboard.
Get stronger.
Probably added in more. Yeah, I think he's a great price at this stage. I'm going to get stuck in as well. I'm going to get on the Guinness now, so I'll be back in a minute.
Matt, you're excused. That's the last we'll see of Alex. He's off to near the channel. There we go. I never knew what he's talking about anyway. John, come on, throw Hollow Games at us.
Well, yeah, just to confirm what the lad said, I think Gordon's already said it'll be Hollow Games and Phil Dawes in this race. It's way too short for the other two anyway. Isn't it? 3-stroke life and Mighty Potter aren't going to go back to 2-mile 1. But out the prices, it's got to be Hollow Games, doesn't it? You can't let him go off at 3-1, can you? I was just looking now on the odds checker, and he's still 3-1. So you've got to back him rather than Phil Dawes at evens, surely. So yeah, I was impressed with him as well. First time out this season, I thought he jumped well. The distance, it was a surprise to me, but he did. it did seem to suit him. And I was a big advocate last year of sticking him over 3 miles, Albert Bartlett. I really thought that was going to be his bag, but maybe they got it all wrong and they've realised, which happens. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see who jocks up. I'm guessing Jack would be on Hollow Games, would he?
He'll get the pick, won't he? That's for sure.
Yeah.
I actually think he'd ride
Theodore,
actually, but I still wouldn't let that put anyone off back in the games.
Great. Might see more of Jordan Game.
You might get Jordan Gameford on him or someone.
Has he lost his claim now?
You wouldn't get it in a graded race.
You won't get it in a graded race.
No. But has he lost his claim now?
No, I don't think so. No. I don't think so just yet.
He might still have a bit left, but yeah. Well, there's the other young lad, isn't there? Ewing, is it?
Sam.
Yeah. They got Rob James as well if they wanted to. He's a jockey. He comes over this side quite a lot. Brilliant jockey, really good rider.
So yeah, Hollow Games just to complete the race. Sorry, Ian.
That's all right.
That's what we like. Lovely. Right. Okay. So sticking to Boxing Day and flicking across to Limerick. We've got, excuse me, the Faugheen Novice Chase. 2 miles, 3.5 furlongs. Yeah, again, what's going to run? We've got Sam Wine here again, Mighty Potter in here again, Gayad Dumanil. Alec, John started as well.
I don't mind going first.
Ian, come on, Ian's not had a first go yet.
Yeah, mine will be pretty quick. Jerry Cologne wins. He's no sort of price. He's beat classier horses. Kilcrup will be the danger, but he beat a load of trees in his chase debut. So again, this will be the sort of race. It'll probably be 4 or 5 runners again. Yeah, so if you had to pin me down, I would say the favourite again, but it's odds on, so no real price to it. But Jerry Cologne.
Jerry Cologne for Ian. Alex?
I do the opposite. I like Kilcret. I'm a big fan of Kilcret. I think he's going to make a really good chaser. Ian's right. He did beat a load of trees, but he proved he can jump, which is better than a lot of these novice chases are going to be doing. So, I mean, at the prices, I'm happy to go with Kilcret. I think Jerry Colombe's probably going to be a 3-miler, and I think the trip will be just too sharp for him, and I think Kilcret will win.
You like Kilcret for the Browns?
No,
I think he's a 2.5 miler, really.
You don't think he'll go further?
He's got plenty of speed, hasn't he? I mean, they took their chances in the Supreme for that reason. Really, don't think he's built too much for stamina. But
I mean, he wasn't really that far behind John Bon.
No, but he ran well. He ran well because he was coming off the back of a few poor efforts as well. So they got him tuned up nicely. So I'd hold the faith that he retains the ability. I don't know if he'll beat Jerry Colombe personally, because I think he's a bit of a beast as well. Although he needs a lot of things to go probably his way.
He needs to stay fit, firstly.
Yeah, he needs it deep, doesn't he? He needs some deep ground. He's not gonna probably win too many races this side of the Irish Sea, but he's probably something that could go and win an Irish Gold Cup in a couple of years' time. A really big, imposing horse. But again, for betting purposes, I think I'd be with you, Alex. I think I'd probably just side with Kilcret. Also, Jerry Colombe's got a bit of an attitude. So if you've got to ask him a question, I don't always know if he's actually going to respond so quick. And, he's not got the extra furlongs this time. So I'd probably just side with Kilcret. I think you either go with pace or stamina. I'm just going to side with pace this side. So I'll go with Kilcret as well.
I like Kilcret. I just wonder if he'll go further. John?
Yeah, Jerry Colombe, I haven't really taken to him yet, to be perfectly honest with you. And like Joe just said then, getting him fit, or Alex, sorry, said then, but getting him fit, I mean, he's had, he's 6, he's had 5 races. That just says quite a lot to me. Now, I know he's got a really good record in those races, but if you're looking long-term ready for March, will he turn up in March in one of these, these novice chases? I'm not so sure he will. And like Joe said, he touched on that about the ground. He does prefer it deep, and I don't think he'll get that in March either. So long term, I just like, if he wins, like, just let him get on with it. But I'm not sure what's going here. I mean, which Gordon's going to put another one in, isn't he? Surely, will he throw 3-stripe life in, or put Mighty Potter go again? I'm not so sure which one of them will go. I mean, looking at the pricing, it doesn't suggest they will turn up, does it? Because I think one of them's 5-1, one of them's 8-1.
I don't know, me and Mighty Potter should be shorter, wouldn't he? If he was,
Yeah, you'd think so. Gaillard de Menil, I think that's a bit on the short side for him as well. I don't think he'll turn up, but I'd go Kilcrut as well. Again, I'm a bit jury's out on him, but he did what he had to the last day, won pretty well. So I'd be probably willing to give him another chance this time and see how he gets on. It should be a decent race, but yeah, long term, I'm not so sure I would back any of these for March, but Kilcrut, if I had to put a gun to my head now, I'd pick him.
Old Ramillies running the other day.
Oh, yeah.
You're obsessed with that horse, you.
He had to come good. Dave, wrap it up for us.
So I agree with lots of what's been said, because like at the prices, it's a match between Jerry Colomb and Kilcrut. Let's be honest. Like Willie might stick a couple in there, but some of them won't run. Like Gaillard de Menil runs in the Neville Chase, 3-Stripe Life runs in the Neville's race. Mighty Potter skips this. We'll go to Dublin Racing Festival. Phil Dore runs in that 2-mile race, which is where Mighty Potter was, but was taken out. Crooner runs in the Neville Chase. Sanois, we've already talked about that one. Hyde and Charge ran the other day. Midnight Run will go in the 2-mile race. They haven't got a chance anyway. But adamantly chosen authorised art could be a couple of other Willie ones, but it's not going to be a very big field, and it is a match between Jerry Colomb and Kilcrut. I would be very, very, very interested in Kilcrut stepping up in trip at some point. The thing with him as a chaser, right? Lots of people do this because a horse has won a point to point. Everyone just assumes that a fence would improve it. Jerry Colomb, I do watch lots of the point to point stuff just because you can get it available on YouTube and it's right to do it. Wasn't a terrible jumper, but wasn't like, oh my God, he's going to be that much improved for a fence. And he was just running in novice hurdles and maiden hurdles, wasn't he, last year? So he wasn't really doing anything. Kilcrut's achieved more than he has so far. Even in his defeat at Punchestown, he ran like pretty close to State Man. And I know like there's other horses in there, and like from a trip perspective, they tried him at different trips for Kilcrut. But he is a horse that was bound to improve for a fence at some point. Like his dad's stowaway. Sometimes it's like irrelevant, but just to peel out some names, because I don't know too many people that like will look at the breeding stuff. Outlander's in there, Monkfish is in there, Champagne Fever, Put the Kettle On, Fury Road, Statler. Like there's some, like they're proper chasers and they do well. They're all capable of throwing in a bit of a wobbly jump, so I wouldn't mind the fact that he was a bit of a pish hurdler. Jerry Colomb's dad, Sadler Maker, and I've seen plenty of these horses in the past that get hyped up. They don't make the best chasers. Bristol Demise up there is a good one. But then you get some other horses that like they're just not that great at chasers. They do all right as over hurdles. So 9-4 about Kilcrut, and then the 8-11 Jerry Colomb is not necessarily the wrong way around, but Kilcrut will be a lot shorter. So I think that Kilcrut would be like a token selection, but I would be very interested in him doing well in this, and I want to see him step up in trip. I reckon he could make into either a Brown's horse or something like that somewhere down the line. But it's going to be a match between the two of them. I don't really like Jerry Colomb, so cue that one going and winning, eh?
I'll just. So the question I asked Alex about 5 minutes ago: do you fancy Kilcrut for the Browns today?
I mean, I think he could make into that type of horse. To be honest with you, I don't think he's anywhere near it in terms of like the betting is he at the moment. But it just depends what else they've got, don't they? But he could make into that. A lot will be told about this day, won't it? Because I think the ground in this for Novice Chase is going to be fairly testing. Jerry Colomb and Kilcrut, neither of them will mind the ground. It'll be a good race between the two of them, and it is a match. There shouldn't be much between them, to be honest with you. So if one of them does go and schloose up, then it's definitely a good one.
Lovely. So thank you, chaps. Wrapped up that 2-horse race pretty much, I think, there. So we'll stick to the list for now. The Rain Man's looking pretty stern. I don't want to get in trouble there. Stick to the list, and we'll pop back. Moving swiftly along to Wednesday, the 28th in Leopardstown, and the 2:20 Savills Chase, Grade 1, big race of the day. We've already had a little bit of a chat about A Plus Tard, so Joe, maybe you want to lead on this one?
Yeah, sure. Cheers. I mean, This is going to be a really good contest, isn't it? Applutard's clearly the one to be on the best form, and I'd be happy as anyone, obviously, if he did win as well. But I do feel after Haydock's disappointment, he's probably going to need one run to find him at peak form. So at the prices, I'm just going to look elsewhere. The likes of Galvin and Kenboy just bores me. It's like a school reunion. You don't want to be going down that route. But the one I do really like, talking about breeding, just as you mentioned, Dave, is I like Statler. He's another one of these stowaway ones. But I think it could be his turn now to pop down some Gold Cup credentials. We know he stays. He'll absolutely love Leopardstown. He'll travel around there beautifully. He's probably got more gears than we initially thought based on what Willie was telling us alone. Not from what I've seen, because he doesn't really seem to show you too much. Based on what Willie's told you, he's got a few extra gears as well. But he's an improving type, so his official rating of 158, I don't think it's going to do him justice. He's really going to step up on that this year. And at 16-1 in the Gold Cup, if he goes on and wins this, he could become 8-1. And of course, if he wins this race, it means Applutard hasn't, and that he could actually drift a little bit. So if you fancy Statler for this in the Gold Cup, now might be the time to back him. But in this race as well, I'm quite sweet on his chances. I really feel this is the time that he's going to stamp his authority on a bit of a Gold Cup field as well and put his name up there with Gallopin, Applutard, and a few of the others. So quite a strong punt on Statler for me in the Savills, yeah.
A strong one again there. Love it. Go on, Dave. We'll stick with the special guests.
When you keep calling us specials and I'm sat here wearing this hat, it's definitely a little bit tinged with something, isn't it?
Have you seen Ian?
Yeah, but we know Ian's special. That's why I'm worried. So I mean, like, this is a nice race. It like borderline frustrates me some years because I feel like it should be better than it actually is. You get some like nice winners in the past, but I think Bobsworth came over on this after he'd won his Gold Cup, maybe. And I think Don Pody's the only favourite since him to win it. Like a Plutard, we know he like doesn't. No one ever needs to say today. He raised Cheltenham in that Gold Cup, like he is potentially, or I say potentially, like he is the best horse in the race. He's priced accordingly. Like you wouldn't say it's a terribly bad price. You wouldn't say it's a good price. You'd probably just say it's about the right price. Like if you rolled the dice, ran this race 10 times, he probably would win at least half of them. But like Joe said there, like he might just need this one. And I don't think they'll care if he gets beat. And then again, like when Joe's touched on about Statler, you know, I said that 2.5 mile race we ran and he did show that bit of speed. And obviously Willie's come out and said about the gears and stuff. Like Statler does look really, really classy. And we know Willie Mullins just does so well over the festive period. So I quite like Statler. He is in and around again, like the right sort of price though. Like I don't think there's too much juice in there. If he was like a little like 4-1 or something, you get like a little scummy each round, I'll be all over that. But I think Statler will go pretty close. You do get a lot of horses historically as well. Like the 6 and 7-year-olds tend to do better recently. So Statler ticks like a lot of boxes on there, but I don't know whether I'll be brave enough to have a bet in the race, but I'd expect either Statler or Plutard to win. If anything else wins, it'd be disappointing. But it's a good shout from Joe as well, saying about the Gold Cup stuff, because Statler could just keep shortening up for it. And we know with that National One Chase form, like he won it like an absolute good thing. And like he's touched on there, like Willie said he's got some gears. We've seen him show some gears as well. So that might not be a bad shout. Because he could get beaten this, couldn't he, and go and win a Gold Cup. Indo got beaten this, won a Gold Cup. A Plutard got beaten this, won a Gold Cup. So I won't, but I'd be potentially more persuaded to do that. Have a little few quid on him for the Gold Cup.
Nice. John Statler, you were a Statler fan last year, weren't you?
No, I was a Statler fan.
Oh, yeah. I was thinking, was it John or was it Alex? And yeah.
No. Constant back and forth. Fred's going to win the National Chase.
I know. Like the guy said, I mean, Plutard should go and win, really, but I think he will need this run. And we all thought he was going to win this last year, and he never. And, you know, it's one of them, innit? If he, you know, the 5-4 might look great when he's over the line and home and hose, but he's got a little bit to prove now, so I don't want to be taking that price, you know, on him at this time. Statler, yeah, he was really good in the National Chase. Yeah, I held my hands up to that. My worry about him is his time off the track. I mean, it's 288 days. I mean, he has won first time out before, but you know, they weren't races of this caliber. So I think maybe he might need the run as well. I'm going to go to the old school reunion that Joe doesn't want to go to and go for Galvin, my old friend. And I just think at that price, he's a filthy each way, isn't he? You know, I think Gordon will have him absolutely spot on for this. He won it last year. His only visit to the track, so he liked the track. I think the race will be run to suit with the sort of horses that are in it. Should be a decent pace. You might get Kenboy up there at the top, and it might tow him into the race. My only slight concern is not having Davy on board, because Davy used to get the best out of him. But if Jack rides him, it's a great substitute for Davy on him. So Galvin all the way for me in this one. I just think he's got the course and distance form in the book, and he's still only 8, isn't he? So I think he'll run really well.
Still only 8, so you're still keen Gold Cup coming this year, or?
Yeah, I'm not so sure. Well, I mean, this might be his Gold Cup, to be honest with you. I think Gordon might have just got him ready for this race. He'll have other irons in the fire for that further down the line. I think this could be his race of the season.
Nice. Alex, who was a big Statler fan.
I was, but I'm deserting Statler for this race. I quite like Conflated. I know. He really impressed me in the Irish Gold Cup, and then for some reason they decided to run him in the Ryanair, which made absolutely no sense to me. He fell, but I think he was never going to beat Allaho, but he'd have beaten the rest. Then after that, he then went to Aintree, finished second to Clan des Obeaux, which I think it was probably too many races in too short a period of time. I think in like 7 weeks, he went from Irish Gold Cup to Ryanair to then running at Aintree, finished second, which is pretty good, but obviously not great. Then he started his campaign a few weeks ago at Dam Royal, and he finished third in the race that Envoy Allen won. He ran pretty poorly, but I think he only finished like 4 or 5 lengths behind. And this is a horse that's never won first time out. He always improves for a run. And I mean, if he gets his normal improvement that he would normally expect, I think he's got a good chance. And I think there's a few of these that are probably going to be looking to peak at different points in the season. Whereas for him, I think this probably would be his Gold Cup. I mean, looking at the betting, I think he's 50-1 for the Gold Cup, 5-2 for this. Whereas a lot of these, it's sort of the other way around. They're a lot shorter for the Gold. Well, in relation to each other. So yeah, I think he's got a good chance. And I'll be sticking with. Well, I'll be going with Conflated.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I just had a quick check while you were talking, and yeah, 50-1 still for the Gold Cup. So that would suggest, as you say, this could be his Gold Cup. Over to Holly Willoughby again. Sorry, Ian, I've got to stop. Come on, Raymond. Put me in my place.
Sadly, I'm going to be boring. I'm willing to forgive Aplutardi's run at Haydock. I think he'd come out, it was an illness. Was second last year, beaten by Galvin, and we know went on to win the Gold Cup. Just trying to pick bones at some of the others that the guys have said. Statler obviously will stay the trip, could be a danger, but will he win a Grade 1 first time out? I'm not so sure. Galvin was poor in his last race, probably needs further. Would he go for the Grand National? Manila Indo again, first time out, second in the Gold Cup, but pulled up in his previous race. I'm not so sure. But one I looked at potentially each way is Fury Road, 16-1. Could be an interesting winner. Previous course winner at distance as well. And unlike a lot of the others, he has come out this season and won. And he won at 12 stone. So he could be one potentially to look out for the places. But Aplutard for the win for me.
Sticking with Aplutard, be nice. So you may want to be looking at the 10-1 for the Gold Cup now. Then
already done it.
No, you have, but I'm talking.
It was in my Ante-Post.
Talking to our thousands of viewers, Ian.
Oh,
Christ. Talking to Wayne and Stephen Allfret or Allfret.
Undercunt.
Is it Stephen
Allfret?
Wow. Even Allfret.
According to the Thunder, what?
See you next Tuesday.
Right, so that was Wednesday, the 28th. Moving swiftly along to Thursday, the 29th of December 2022, and the Matheson's Hurdle.
This won't take long.
This won't take long.
The further we go out, obviously, the harder it is to know what runs. But Throw
What
your
price
hat.
is State Man at the
wants,
moment?
has anybody got anything that they want to lead on here?
State Man wins.
Come on then, mate.
Yeah.
Go on now.
Oh, I just said State Man wins if he runs.
What price is he at the moment? Is he still around 8 to
8 to
13 to 8
13.
on.
Yeah. 4 to 6 last, yeah, something like that. 8 to 13, 4 to 6, something like that.
I mean, I don't know if we're missing something. That seems like a hell of a price to me. The only real notes I've written for the race is that he should be 1 to 3 after what he did last time out to them, to be honest. Won the
I think
Morgiana
it's more
first
just in
time
case
out.
he doesn't run.
Say
I mean,
again.
I think it's more just in case he doesn't run.
Yeah, sure. It's just, I just feel it. Willie's already said that he's running State Man and Charger, and Charger was fully geared up last time, but State Man was 75% and bolted up in a Morgiana. I honestly think he's a little bit, I know you'll think he's a really good horse, but I honestly think he may just be a little bit better. He might be a tad special. You don't really win county hurdles in the fashion he did if you haven't got a serious engine. I just think he should be 1 to 3, like you, Alex. He just goes and wins this race. There's not too much talking about anything else. If he's 8 to 13 and he goes, I'm going to fill my boots a little bit, I think, with that one as well. Yeah.
What about Champion Hurdle then, Joe?
Well, I mean, Constitution Hill is going to be tough to beat, isn't he?
Yeah.
I'm until we've seen a turn of foot from Constitution Hill, which we may not need to see. I want to see what happens from when we get to the final turn in. If Honeysuckle runs in the Champion Hurdle, she's prominent. She always kicks. State Man will come from the wide outside, and he's got a turn of foot. So if everything goes to plan for Honeysuckle, State Man, Constitution Hill will be in the middle whilst Honeysuckle's kicked and have State Man on his back. So he's going to have a turn of foot regardless of what happens when they come around the final turn. So yeah, I don't say he's not going to win. Constitution Hill should bolt up if we're giving him the ratings that we've given him. But he's got to go there. He's got to go there and do it amongst a bigger crowd, a bigger field, with horses surrounding him that can actually go his cruising speed. Don't get me wrong, I think he's going to win, but I will not be getting involved at those prices. And I didn't at 7 to 4 either, which I'm a bit gutted about now, of course. But I genuinely believe that cruising speed at Cheltenham counts for a lot. And then it depends what happens at the hill. State Man won't be as far away as people think. I really do think he's a good horse. Really good horse.
Like it. Come on, Bar Humbug.
Yeah, mine won't take long. I agree with what Joe was saying about State Man. Should be too good for these. I know Charger's won this race about 1 million times previously, but I don't think he's good enough now. Vauban potentially could be running, but it's a tough ask first time out to try and win this. I'm not sure if Piper's going in this race or not. I think if he does, I think he potentially could be the threat to State Man. Another small field, but yeah, so it's not really a betting race, but I would say State Man should put this to the sword really and win.
Same job.
Yeah, same for me. Like Ian said, Charger's won this for God knows how many years on the run. It's just normally his big day in the sun, but he's not going to be any match for State Man now, is he? I can see this being a 4-horse race, to be honest with you. I can't see. I don't think you'll get the 8 to 13 on the day then, Joe. That's the only problem, isn't it? If it's a 4-horse race, you probably will be 1 to 3. So, but it's a risk, isn't it, if you back him Ante-Post at that price? So, yeah, he should bolt up.
Talking Sharjah, you're like it's like talking about Kenboy and Manila and doing the last race, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
So, yeah, Dave.
Yeah.
You literally added a section in about writing horses off, and every single one of you has written off a horse that's he fell against Whiskey Sour in December. He's never lost at the Christmas Festival. I know he fell once. And do you remember when Sharjah 2 years ago was sent off 11 to 2 because everyone was rimming Saint-Ouen, who won the county, sent off 13 to 8 against Sharjah, who's just proven himself. Like he's been second in the Champion Hurdle.
Yeah,
I genuinely think I get it. I get that State Man has got the potential and could be good, but anyone that thinks that at like the price that it is juice, I mean, I think you want to get your heads tested only because of the fact there's better 8 to 13 shots out there. Like you could get an 8 to 13 shot in a class 5 on the or whatever, or you can get an 8 to 13 shot that should be like a 4s on shot. like Sharjah, they're never going to win a champion hurdle with them. There's no point even trying to do anything like that. They could win a champion hurdle with State Man. So not saying that Willie's necessarily going to leave loads on him, but I wasn't that impressed in the Morgiana. Sharjah did get beat in the Morgiana a couple of years ago as well. Like, we know he's liable to throw an absolute howler. We know he likes Leopardstown, Dublin Race Festival. He never does it there. But for whatever reason it is, Christmas, he just gets lit up, doesn't he? And he loves it. So I think the 130 about him, because like it potentially will be like a swan song thing for him. And we've talked about the fact the field is going to cut up. Pied Piper and Vauban, if they run at Christmas, will both go in. It used to be called the Irish Independent, but I think it's the I think Coolmore have sponsored this year. It's a 4-year-old only race, and obviously just before we turned into January, it's the last chance they get to run in a 4-year-old only race. So the Gaelic Warrior's in there. I don't know whether he'll run or not. I don't think he would, but Vauban's in there. Pied Piper, Iker Allen. So that's where them two are going. Neither of them are going to run in this race. It's going to be a small field like the Morgiana. It'll be State Man, Sharjah. Who knows? William might even run Saudi to try and put some pace into it, but I genuinely think Sharjah's like for me. It's just an absolute auto bet at the prices. You could make it even money the pair and make it a coin flip, and I wouldn't be able to decide one way or the other. Like, you could see State Man winning it, but you could never write off Sharjah. The fact that he's currently 100 to 30, it is going to pretty much be a 2-horse race. I think it's bonkers. I wouldn't be going in and absolutely smashing into him. Like I said, it was 2 years ago when he did Saint-Noir. He's not getting any younger, but he is only a 9-year-old. And I say only. It's not like he's an 11 or a 12-year-old coming here and doing it. And I think a lot of times we get these county hurdle winners at Cheltenham. Yes, you're going to win in a handicap, but when Saint-Noir won it, he was potentially Willie Mullins' supreme horse, and then he disappointed on debut. They set him up for a handicap. State Man was exactly the same last year. Well hyped up. I think he fell, didn't he, on debut, and then all of a sudden they go plotting for a handicap. He won a handicap that impressive because he was a 150s horse running in the mid-140s. Sharjah has confirmed himself as a 160s horse, and I know he beat him the last day at Morgiana, but there's no rhyme or reason to a lot of Sharjah's performances other than the fact that at Christmas he will be there at the line, and I'm pretty sure he'll win. So again, I do understand the State Man thing, and obviously if he goes and shits him, I'm sorry if I've put people away from not having a few quid on him, but he would be one of the worst price favourites for the whole of the festive period, just based on that, because we know that Sharjah gets lit up by it, and I think you'll get a bigger price than State Man. Could be wrong, probably am wrong, but Sharjah. But it's a price thing.
Love it.
It's the name, isn't it, as well? You've got to win to win. Sounds obvious, but
That's it. I'm getting a hint here of a filthy each way, an absolutely filthy each way double. Hollow games.
I don't know if they do. I don't know if they're doing. I don't know.
There won't be enough runners, will there? There'll be not enough runners, will there? They won't do that.
Well, no, but even in saying that now, currently as the prices are, you can get 3 places, Paddy Power or Betfair, 100 to 30, fifth of the odds, or you can get a quarter of the odds first too. So you could get a quarter of the odds, 3 to 1 on Sharjah. Like again, from like a risk perspective, would put yourself low, wouldn't it? I wouldn't bother because he'll end up falling like he did against Whiskey Sour. It's going to be a decent race. I can see Sharjah beating State Man, Constitution Hill shitting home, and Constitution Hill just being like 1 to 5 for Cheltenham. She gets turned over at Dublin Race Festival because State Man would have progressed, and we know Sharjah doesn't run there. I reckon that's what could happen. Anyhow, I've said enough.
Can you imagine a 1 to 8 favourite for the champion hurdle? It would just be ridiculous. Crazy.
It could happen.
It could happen.
Oh,
Lovely. So we're going to prove our adaptability and step back a day. We're going to have a look at Christmas Hurdle.
Christmas Hurdle.
Quite rightly so as well. And yeah, especially because it's named in memory of Jack de Bromhead, which is lovely, to be honest with you. So yeah, 1:45 on the 28th of December. Bob Ollinger going for Henry, which would obviously, I would imagine, it'd bring not the house down, it'd bring the whole of Ireland, bring the whole of racing down, probably, I would imagine. But it looks one hell of a race currently with the field that's there. So yeah, Dave, come on, you got to kick us off here. You've brought us into line by wondering how the hell we didn't have this on the radar anyway. So come on.
I genuinely do think this is arguably one of the races of the whole Christmas festival. Like there'll be lots of Cheltenham clues that come off the back of it anyway. and then you've added in the extra stuff there. Obviously, it's been renamed. I don't know if it was Unibet that was sponsoring it, but I think it's been renamed more recently. So as much as it would be like a nice, and like I say, I am like a bit of a romantic when it comes to these sort of things. I can't imagine that Henry over the summer has been plotting Bob Olin just running the list one and then to peak here at Christmas for the fact of the race. But he may have run him in the list one expecting him to improve for it and then to do a bit better here. I don't like Bob Olin just got the question mark around him, like lots of question marks around him. But there's no way you could say you could ever definitely say at this moment that he couldn't win this. So he could. Flooring Porter was really bad the last day. And I know Gavin Cromwell said he's going to step up on it, but I don't know if you remember, but before Flooring Porter won his first Stayers Hurdle, they kept talking about the inside rail missing at Cheltenham because there's gaps in it, and they were saying that he needs a rail inside his one because he's a bit of a nutter. And I wonder whether with some of these nutty horses, when they're too consistent for a period of time, it worries me that at some point they're going to go off the boil. So he may have gone off the ball, but he should go quite well. Classical Dream, people touched on it in his previous race. Maybe he runs really, really well fresh, and then sort of next time up gets a bit of a bouncing. It will be strange if Willie does run him here, because last year when he won this, he ran him in the Galway Hurdle, said it was too quick, got beaten at 1-3, said that ruined his chance at Cheltenham as well. So if they do run him here, it'll be like a quicker turnaround than that Galway, but you'd expect they would, because in terms of options, they would probably want to just let him run here and then just leave him until Cheltenham. I think he'd be okay. So he's obviously interested in there. Zana here, I don't know if it was John that put this up.
Yeah,
the Stayers. I still half like it. Like we would have rather done a bit better in that first race, but I still wouldn't completely put it to bed. He did have that fall at Aintree, and I wonder with him whether he's like he got beat at Cheltenham, didn't he, in that triumph, and looked like he should have been the winner. I do wonder whether he's a bit of a, I don't know, like a bit of a fuzzy horse, whether he needs a bit of confidence in him. So I can expect to see him go well. I couldn't possibly have a bet in the race, but I'm buzzing to see how it unfolds, because of all the ones that I've mentioned, they're all potentially the Grade 1 horses at 3 miles. And again, if you get something that goes and pulls clear, I expect a couple of them probably will go clear, and that sets the division up. But I'm just excited, because I think I genuinely think whatever wins this or whatever goes and pulls clear will go and win the Stayers in March, unless it's Classical Dream. If they just mind him or something, I reckon he's got a bit of a squeak. But the thing is, he's such a loose one, because you couldn't really back him Ante-Post because you wouldn't expect him to win. But then if he did go and win this, he'd be like 2-1 favourite for Stayers in March. It is a really exciting race. The last thing I'll say on it is Home by the Lee is a horse that I love, and unfortunately I can never get him right. He is not a Grade 1 animal in the slightest. So the List Mullen form, you've just got to put a line through lots of horses' efforts in there, and just for whatever happened on that day, I don't know, tactically can't be bothered to do the times for stuff like that and to worry too much about it. But it was only a Grade 2 then, but he is not a Grade 1 horse. So I don't think he'll be anywhere near any of these. We'll see a lot of difference from a lot of other horses in there. It's definitely a really exciting race. I haven't told you the winner though, have I? So sorry.
Who are we going to?
Alex will have the winner. I'm confident.
Yeah. Oh, I'm confident as well. I'm sticking with Bob. I love Bob. I'm going to forgive his last race. I mean, he ran pretty well. I mean, jumping or just before the last fence, last hurdle. Sorry, he looked like he was going to be the winner. And then, I mean, Home by the Lee, I think he was just race fit. I think that's the only difference. And his form, obviously, from the Ballymore's worked out really well. He stayed 2 mile 5 at Cheltenham, so I don't see why people saying he's not going to stay 3 miles. I think that's absolute bollocks, really. Sorry, but yeah, I'm going to stick with Bob Ollinger. I put him up before as a Stayers Hurdle pick for me when he was a bigger price. He's a bigger price, and he went back in, and he's come back out again. But I think he'll win this, and he'll go into a very short price for the Stayers.
Yeah, I think that's fair as well, because when you did mention him for Ante-Post, sorry, I don't want to steal the show, but like of that List Mullen Hurdle, when it was all teed up to be an absolute worldie, all the best horses were in there, and then obviously it's a bit disappointing because Home by the Lee went and won it. Bob Ollinger was the only one that actually ran with any credit really going into it, and he's only going to get better, because there was definitely something wrong with him last season in that race at Cheltenham. I think Henry said it after Punchestown that he shouldn't have run him. You could
run at Punchestown.
Yeah, but you could see at Cheltenham that there wasn't something right with him. And if Galloping Deschamps hadn't have fallen, obviously Bob Ollinger wouldn't have won it. And then maybe they would have said, "Oh, wait, there is something wrong with him. We'll like put him to one side or whatever." So you can't judge that Punchestown run. But considering he definitely had an injury last season, to do what he did on that List Mullen Hurdle for like a run back, I was pretty impressed by it. So up the bob, isn't it?
Up the bob.
And if we also check in what we were talking about before with Honeysuckle and Aplutard, and then
Yeah.
look at the fact that Ashdale was 10 lengths behind Bob. Home by the Lead beat Bob by 2 lengths, and then Ashdale Bob 10 lengths back. So the first two have pulled.
There was a point at that time when, around that sort of period of time when Bob ran, when he finished second, there was a point around then that I think Henry was 2 from like 33 or something.
And he's had five winners in the last 12 runs or something lately. So we've already touched on it, haven't we, with Honeysuckle and Aplutard. So it might be that run behind Home by the Lee was actually better than we're even given credit for, if there was anything untoward in the yard and so on. Who knows? Who knows? The chaps will know. Ian, John.
Go on, Ian.
Okay. I'm going to go with Florian Porter.
Oh, for fuck's sake. I'm joking.
I expected to turn the form around with Classical Dream. I know it was the what's the controversial, if you want to call it that, Classical Dream went off a little bit further, and
5 lengths further.
Catch up. So I expected to turn it around. Florian Porter never wins first time out, so we saw that, and he come 4th or 5th in the last race. I'm going to pick some bones with some of the others. Saying about Bob Ollinger, I know he was pulled up at over 3 miles. Maybe a big ask for him to win over 3 miles first time. Or second time, really. Home by the Lee's never won over 3 miles. Zanahir's not even run over 3 miles. Queen's Book would be interesting with her weight, but again, there's another one that's never really run over 3 mile. So if I was to say like an each way angle, I know Cider Burley's 10 now, but quite a good record at the distance, has beaten Florian Porter previously. 25 to 1, I think is quite a good price. So I would say Florian Porter for the win, Cider Burley maybe for the places.
I see it. Like it. Nah, I like a good price here.
Yeah.
I'll be 50p.
I can't have Classical Dream.
Like you say, Mr. Evans.
Well, this division is just full of like rogue horses and nutters, isn't it? It's just like both sides of the water. It's just full of those type of horses that you can never get right. Classical Dream, I can never get right, so I can't. If I don't back him, he'll probably piss up, won't he? But I am concerned, like Dave said, that the bounce factor with him when he runs, soon after. What is it? When did he run last?
Beginning of December, wasn't it?
24th. Yeah, so that would worry me. Definitely would concern me. Like Florian Porter, I just think he'll be trained with one race in mind. So he might go and, reverse it with Classical Dream from last year. But I think he'll be trained for March, and that's it. Like, and he'll probably win in March. I won't be surprised. Bob's going to turn the form around with Home by the Lay 100%, and he's a much better horse than him. So for me, I want. I'm not saying I'm backing them both, but I want Bob or Zanahir to win. I've got to still say Zanahir. I'm like, I've put him up. I can't desert him after one poor effort this season, like we were saying before. Something might not have been right. He might not have been fully fit. So I've got to give him another shout as well. I'm like, but him or Bob, I'd have it between him or Bob. But I don't really want to nail me colours to the mast, but I just want one of those two to win, to be perfectly honest with you. I think the rest are just much and much, aren't they, below Queensbrook and Ashdale Bob. But it's full of a few rogues for me, this race. It's probably best to just sort of sit back and watch.
Good man. Joe, wrap it up for us.
Yeah, sure thing. Well, it won't take too long. As far as punting goes, it's a difficult race for me to nail one down on. I find it hard to give Bob any of my money, even though I'd love to see him run really well. The same case probably with Florian Porter as well. Needs a lot to go his way. Same with Classical Dream. Home by the Lee, I agree with you boys. I don't think he's good enough, although I think he will be suited by Cheltenham and probably run a decent race, but I don't think he's got winning credentials. So in a race where I feel like the first few could maybe bump out a little bit, I'd just be inclined to take a little bit of a look further down. Perhaps something like Zanahir. I think he could be well worth another go. at this sort of trip. I'm not saying at his best competing against Flora and Porter Classical Dreams best that he's necessarily going to have the gears, but he's open to improvement. He's 5 going on 6. This is the year now, which is quite detrimental to how he improves moving forward. He's going to be a much bigger operator this time around. So maybe Zanahiyr or Commander of Fleet, who came back to form at the Cheltenham Festival at about 33-1. I think he'd have a little squeak for Gigginstown as well, but I wouldn't want to put down a selection as such. But if I was forced, I'd have an each-way punt on Zanahiyr, and just it is what it is, really. It's one of those ones for me.
Lovely. Thank you, Joe. Okay, so thereby ends the analysis of our selected races. Well, we're not just going to bring it to an abrupt halt. It's over the Christmas period then. So out of the races we've done there, I want you all to give me your best selection. But if you've got something else that you've already looked at in another race over the Christmas period that you really fancy, like a Brucey bonus, chuck it out there and let's let all our millions of viewers. We're going through the roof now. We're going through the roof now with this stuff. So no, we're only joking, Wayne. Don't get your knickers in this. We're still very amateurish and what have you. But yeah, no, right. Yeah, best bet, boys. Best bet over the Christmas period, if you would. Oh, is this going to be a best bet or is this?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I'll go
right.
straight with the
Yeah.
best bet.
Come on, Dave.
I've had a few bets already. There's possibly a couple more I want to get into. So Hollow Games is definitely my best bet. But again, I say best bet like I like he is. He's up there, but like he's not miles clear. Like Hollow Games for definite. I have backed to Hoy Senior. I still think 20s is like too big. So you might even get some scummy 4 places if the field holds up. So Hoy Senior is definitely a bet. One we haven't talked about in the Roller Merrick. I've stolen this from a couple of guys that I chat to a bit. But Shan Blue will win the Roller Merrick. He's 5-1, proper scummy each way he is because he'll go shorter than that. Looks quite a tidy race, doesn't it? But obviously we know that Ahoy doesn't go there now. Who else did I say? Oh yeah, Sharjah. Definitely got to have a couple of good on Sharjah. And Goshen in the long walk hurdle. Fancy Goshen quite a bit.
Love it.
But they're all reasonable prices, aren't they? So any one of those 5 that I've mentioned comes in, you get your money back. Get a couple of them in, we're laughing, aren't we?
Like it. Joe, we've got to come to you.
Yeah, sure. I've got a couple, but I'll keep them quite quick fire. I like Lompresi and the King George, but I double him up with Quick Wave and the National, a bit of a Venetia double over the 2 days. Just like Dave, I think Hollow Games is a huge bet, just on the basis that he's only got a field door to beat, in my opinion. It's not the fact like Statler where he's got some proven horses to go against. So I think Hollow Games is a really, really solid bet. But I do have one away from the races that we spoke about. I like winning the Grade 2 Juvenile Hurdle at Chepstow, which is the 140. It's a horse that was brought from Ballydoyle, now with the Milton Harris team. Only had 5 lengths to find with Caribus, but has shown some really, really good form in winning both of his juvenile hurdles so far. Bolted up at Cheltenham last time out, and that is Scriptwriter. He's about 3-1 at the moment. A lot of the horses in the field at the moment look like they're going to come out. A lot of the ground hasn't gone their way, but the team actually won this with Night Salute, who I'm really close to as well, one of my favourite horses in training. And I know Scriptwriter is working really well at home at the moment. He's a Churchill horse as well, so he's got plenty of gears for this sort. And he's my best bet over the entire Christmas period. He's Scriptwriter in the 140 at Chepstow on Welsh National Day.
Love it. Love it. And on that note, then, mentioning Night Salute, wishing Milton and that they had all the best with Night Salute, because reading that, been going too well at the end of the day.
Yeah, a bit of a freak injury, wasn't it? By the sounds
so
of it.
what had happened? So I'm actually quite close. I know the Four Candles partnership quite well, so I tend to go to Milton's quite a lot. What happened was he had an infection in his tooth, and to basically to extract a tooth on a horse, they have to go through the top of the snout. They cleared this up, and then 2 months later it had come back. So it sort of explains when he ran against Pied Piper a couple of months ago. When they came to the turn, he pulled left and then he pulled right. He was all over the track, but he basically had the bit caught in between his ulcer, so he was never happy. They managed to clear it up. Long story short, it's come back, but they had to put him under general anaesthetic this time. And when he got up, he basically caught 2 of his hind legs, and it's pretty career ending. Not going to lie, yeah, it's not very good news, but we've got to really just try and make his life as comfortable as possible moving forward. Basically, yeah, it's a shame he's the best British juvenile as well. So But script writer looks pretty good too, so hopefully you can, give them a bit of good fortune for sure.
Sad news, that was. Good script writer. Lovely. Thank you, Joe.
No worries.
Rain Man, you bet for Christmas. Come on.
My best bet, I go with Joe. I think long press for the King George. I think is nailed on. There is a couple. It wouldn't be a video without me mentioning some Henderson horses. So
hang on a minute. We've got time here.
Yeah.
So
on the 27th, there's a horse I've been waiting for her to come out, and it's Between Waters. She's running in the 12:30 at Chepstow in a maiden hurdle. But I believe in the same race is another talking horse of Henderson's. Fire Step is also been entered in the same race, so it's potentially could be good to see one of them or maybe both of them taking each other on. So it's more of a for me to look at and to see how they both get on. But yeah, that could be a quite interesting race at Chepstow.
Watching brief,
yeah.
Very good. Mr. Evans, Christmas bet.
Yeah, I think with Dave, the best bet's got to be Hollow Games, hasn't he, at the price there? You can't argue with that at all. Like each way, I'd put up my Pat's Fancy in the Welsh National at 12-1. And then the other one I want to mention is one that I've put up on one of the Ante-Post videos is Perseus Way, Ian's favourite saying.
Perseus
Way. Perseus Way, whatever you call it. In the juvenile hurdle on the 27th, that's a script writer race. I'm not sure if they all go, but I'm just looking forward to seeing him and how he gets on. He's currently 7-1, so might have a nibble on that closer to the time.
Lovely. Speaking of which, I'm sensing it. There could be a Nusret coming up here, couldn't there?
Saying Nusret.
Alex,
I must admit, I left that to Alex.
So I'll give you of the ones I've given you so far. I'm going to stick with Ask Me Early as my best bet for those ones. I think he's a really good shout for the Welsh National. I've got one as well for the Paddy Power Chase, the handicap, which I think's got a really good shout. Currently 20-1 best price. Get 5 places as well on that. Horse called Gabby's Cross. One of Henry de Bromhead's. It's been running over sort of 2.5 miles, 2 miles 6, 2 miles 7, like never quite getting up to 3 miles. He stepped up to 3 miles in the Kerry National. He ran at the back. He jumped poorly twice in the final circuit. On one of the jumps, the rider lost his irons as well. And he only got beaten by 12 lengths. And I think if he jumps better, obviously rider not losing his irons, I think there could be a lot of improvement in there. And I think 20-1 could be a steal, really. So that's the handicap one I'm quite happy to put up. And then the second one I really like, as you mentioned before, I'm a big fan of Nusret, Joseph O'Brien, Triumph Hurdle horse. I think he'll win the Triumph. I think he'll win the juvenile hurdle over in Ireland, and then I think he'll go on and win the Triumph.
Against Lossiemouth.
Yeah.
He's still about 16s for the Triumph at the moment.
Brave.
Yeah, that's 16s. Yeah. Sorry, Johnny.
There's needle here, isn't there?
Brave.
I'll happily take a run. He's 5-1 at the moment for that race.
Yeah,
I think that's a good price. And then he's 16s for the Triumph.
There's also in that race entered is that Gala Marceau that we mentioned a couple of times on previous videos. So it's an interesting race, that one. Blood Destiny's down in there as well. Nusret, Comfort Zone. So should be a good race if a few of them turn up.
Good. Well, thank you, chaps. So let's hope we don't go back to the -10 and 11 and whatever we had the other week. And we have plenty of nice races for Christmas. And we hope everybody has a wonderful Christmas. Comment away on our video, folks. I'll tell you
Especially you, Wayne. Hi, Wayne.
Post your bet slips. Post your bet slips. Post away. We love to see. Yeah, have a great Christmas. Enjoy your Baileys and your Guinness and enjoy time with your family. Enjoy being able to mix again. All that shit. But yeah, most of all, Joe, Dave, guys, thank you so much. We are
Thank you, guys.
to have you on. Obviously, mean it. We've been doing this for I can't even remember now, just over a year, I think. And like it was literally, it kicked off for us through a few mates on a WhatsApp, and we started, it was because of COVID, wasn't it? We started having a few video chats and a laugh, and you know, Dave, especially, we've asked you for advice and stuff. It was, you know, we didn't expect it to be anything more than a bit of a laugh and stuff, and we've got no aspirations. So just to get people like you on and have a chat with us is seriously, it is wonderful. It gives us a buzz, doesn't it? We talk about it on WhatsApp. It gives us a massive buzz that you guys give us time. So yeah, thank you. I really, really mean it, because it's a pleasure to have you on, and it's good to have a chat and a laugh. So
you're welcome. That's very kind of you to say so. You need to set your standards higher, though.
We can't afford the others.
That's it, yeah. You know, it's all you guys. You can tell you guys love it. It's nice just to talk horses. Like I say, I love to do it, as you've probably gathered by now. But it's good. You guys put the effort in, didn't you? You get like around, you're nice to people, not doing things too wrong, are you? You'll get to 1,000 subscribers soon as well. Start earning that ad revenue.
Ian puts a lot of hard work in behind the scenes, as does Alex and what have you. And yeah, it's.
I'd rather just have a few pints of Guinness and chat shit about racing. To be honest, that's what it is for me.
Yeah.
And the old man down the middle there, he's always been the driver. I've got to stop calling him the old man. Do you know, funny enough, we live about 40 minutes away. I've never met John. I've played footy against Matty, but in person I've never met John. But yeah, known you virtually for about 20 years, probably, isn't it, John? Going back to the old Best of the Bets forum.
He needs to come down in March.
Yeah, come down, OJ.
Yeah, I know. I'd love to. No, so yeah, thank you, chaps. Genuinely, thank you, and your insight is spot on. So yeah, anybody who is watching us, not that the guys need a plug for us, but obviously Cheltmental and Ginger Joe Racing, get watching them. Yeah, there's the plug, and of course Dave's column on gg.co.uk, because then it's all documented on there. There's your Cheltenham plan for the year. Get following it. And yeah, all that's left for us is to wish everybody a very happy Christmas. Absolutely everybody. It's from Mrs. Harrison and absolutely
Wayne's mum.
Wayne's mum. We love you all. Yes. So thank you very much. Nadolig llawen a blwyddyn newydd dda.